The night before our engagement party, my fiancée, Lauren Taylor, ran off with some broke poet. When I finally tracked them down, she and this guy, Leo, were tangled up in a cheap motel room. In their rush to separate, Lauren's red lace teddy was still caught on his ankle. Everyone in our circle pitied me. Ethan Cole, rising star in the military, a man with everything going for him, publicly humiliated by a scandal this big. I just felt a quiet, profound sense of relief. At least this time, Lauren would get what she wanted. In my first life, I'd found the love letters the poet wrote her, begging her to drop everything and run away with him. I was furious. How dare he tarnish the reputation of a young woman from a good family? I kept it from Lauren, paid some guys to rough him up, and had him run out of D.C. Only later did I learn that they'd been seeing each other for months. She hated me for destroying what she called her one true happiness. She teamed up with my father's political rivals, and together they ruined my family. They destroyed us. This time I did nothing. I stood back and watched as she threw it all away for true love, trading her life as a Georgetown socialite for the life of a struggling artist girlfriend. But then she came back full of regret, her eyes red from crying, begging me to love her again. For a couple of days, the biggest story in Washington was the elopement of Lauren Taylor, daughter of the once prestigious Arthur Taylor and a penniless poet. Overnight, a narrative took hold. Lauren, a woman who cared nothing for money or status, a romantic soul who wanted only a man who truly saw her. Viral articles praised her as a modern heroine, the kind of woman countless men dreamed of. I was at the training grounds on base when my buddy, Jack Miller, cornered me, trying to drag me over to the Taylor residence to demand an explanation. I swung myself off my horse, handed the reins to a private, and grinned. Demand what explanation? Jack's always been a hothead. I was with you that night, man. I know what we saw, that trashy couple. They should be publicly shamed for what they did, and you just let them walk. And now, there's some kind of romantic ideal, he fumed. All these wannabe writers are penning think pieces online, making you the villain. Come on, let's go give Arthur Taylor a piece of our minds. I shook my head. I don't need to lift a finger. I wanted to see what kind of fairy tale life Lauren would have without my interference. The Taylors are has-beens, Jack scoffed. If it wasn't for their connection to your family, they would have been irrelevant in this town years ago. I just chuckled. A second chance at life, and Lauren was finally married to Leo Vance. She'd chosen making ramen in a tiny apartment over the perfectly catered life that awaited her. The first time around, I found out about Leo's plan to elope with Lauren and had him thrown out of the city. For that, Lauren despised me for the rest of her short life. Later, when our wedding plans were moving forward, she found me and threw the invitations at my chest, her eyes filled with disgust. Ethan Cole, you make me sick. You destroyed my life's happiness just so you could have me. It was only then that I realized Leo's advances hadn't been one-sided. She was in love with him, too. It felt like a joke. The 15 years we'd known each other, our entire childhood, meant less than the 3 months she'd known him. I remembered her, as a teenager, blushing under the cherry blossoms in the tidal basin. Marrying you would make me the happiest girl in the world, Ethan. I was deployed for 3 years, and suddenly our whole life was just a figment of my imagination. I was confused and angry, but I was willing to let her go. I had my contacts find Leo and bring him back. But when Lauren stood before him, pouring her heart out, he refused her. We come from different worlds, Lauren. You and Major Cole are the perfect match. Lauren spun on me, her eyes flashing. Ethan, did you threaten him? Is that it? I looked at Leo. Why didn't you tell her you're engaged? The moment Leo had left D.C., he'd gone to stay with his cousin. Within a month, they were married. Leo shrank back, silent. Seeing his pathetic state, Lauren's heart broke for him. You're not just forcing me to marry you, Ethan. Now you're forcing some other woman on Leo? Without him having to say a word, Lauren had already constructed a narrative where he was the victim man, I was the monster. I watched her sob for this man before running off in tears. In the end, though, the wedding wasn't called off. I married her. It was because the Taylors got caught up in a massive financial fraud investigation. Her whole family was facing prison time, and her father, Arthur, wrote me a desperate letter begging for help. My family's code of honor meant I couldn't abandon them. Marrying Lauren was the only way to protect her, the only way to officially intervene and use my family's influence to clear their name. But in Lauren's eyes, I was just taking advantage of the situation to possess her. She saw me as an enemy, and after the wedding, she never gave me a moment of peace. Me, saving her family from ruin? To her, that wasn't even enough to count as an apology. You just used my father's desperation as an excuse to chain me to you. Her resentment festered. She died young. On her deathbed, she gripped my hand with surprising strength, her eyes burning with hate. If I ever get another chance, Ethan, and you dare to ruin my happiness again, I'll come back from the grave to haunt you. Now, reborn, I had granted her wish. The Coles and the Taylors were done. I clapped Jack on the shoulder and laughed. She's not the only woman in the world, Jack. You really think Ethan Cole can't find someone who actually wants to be with me? Jack looked surprised. He knew the crazy things I'd done for her. I'd gotten into a brawl with Preston Hayes, Senator Hayes' son, which led to a 3-year disciplinary deployment to the frontier. I'd earned commendations and medals, all for the sole purpose of asking for her hand. He didn't expect me, the one who was wronged, to be more over it than he was. I had his horse brought around. I just got a few bottles of some top-shelf bourbon. Let's head out to the lodge in the Blue Ridge, do some hunting, maybe a little campfire cookout. How about it? Hell yeah. At the mention of good whiskey, Jack's eyes lit up. He forgot all about Lauren, suddenly eager to bag a couple of deer. I just never expected we'd run into Lauren and Leo at the city limits. They were dressed in cheap, worn-out clothes, carrying wicker baskets, and trying to blend in with the crowd heading into a weekend farmer's market in Georgetown. If Lauren hadn't suddenly called out, "Ethan," I wouldn't have even recognized her. I reined in my horse, looking down at her. Her face had lost some of its youthful softness, and her cheeks had the distinct flush of a newlywed. She stared up at me with a tragic expression, but didn't say anything else. Leo scurried forward and tugged on her sleeve, whispering, "Lauren, who is this?" His gaze barely made it past my riding boots. He didn't have the nerve to look me in the face. Seeing my silence, Lauren shot me an annoyed glare, then looped her arm through Leo's, saying defiantly, "Someone I used to know. We're not close. Giddy up." I spurred my horse forward. No point wasting time here. You're supposed to keep it to a walk within the district, so we were moving slowly. I could still hear the argument break out behind us. "You don't have a vendor's permit. You can't sell your crafts here." "I'm Lauren Taylor. My father is Arthur Taylor." "Never heard of him. If you want to enter, you have to leave the merchandise." "Sir, this was my dowry. Please, can you make an exception?" "That was Major Cole, my brother. You dare stop me?" Jack couldn't take it anymore. He turned in his saddle and sneered. "Wow, Lauren, your memory is shot. A minute ago you weren't close. Now he's your brother?" I glanced back to see Lauren's face burning with humiliation. Without a word, I had one of my men go talk to the security guard and get them a temporary pass. Jack spurred his horse to catch up with me, agitated again. "You can't still feel sorry for her, can you? She took that pass without a single word of thanks." We'd cleared the restricted zone. I snapped the reins and galloped into the woods, the sounds of birds and the scent of blossoms filling the air. Feel sorry for her? No. I'm just making sure their story doesn't end at the gate. How could the tale of the socialite and the starving artist be over so soon? Once we reached the hunting lodge, Jack grabbed his bow and disappeared into the forest. We made a competition out of it, and by dusk, we had a small mountain of game, enough to feed the entire grounds crew for a week. Roasting meat over a bonfire, slugging back whiskey, lying on the grass, staring up at the endless stars. This was freedom. If I hadn't gotten a call from my mother the next morning telling me to come home, I would have stayed out there for a couple more days. I hadn't even reached the front door of our Arlington home when I saw the Taylor's car parked out front. The moment I stepped into the living room, Arthur Taylor shot up from the sofa as if he'd seen his savior. "Ethan, my boy, you're back." His face was beaming, a stark contrast to the awkward tension he'd clearly been sitting in. "It's all my fault. I spoiled that girl of mine, Rod." My mother set her teacup down on the table with a soft, deliberate clink, cutting him off. Arthur turned to face her, and her polite but icy smile made his words die in his throat. I knew what was happening. My mother had never been fond of the Taylors. She tolerated them because I was in love with Lauren, but she never approved. Now, With Lauren's elopement the talk of the town, she wasn't about to give Arthur an easy time. I created some distance between us. Mr. Taylor, what brings you here today? Arthur's expression stiffened. He looked ashamed. I failed to raise my daughter properly, and I've brought this humiliation upon you, son. I came here today to offer my sincerest apologies. Whatever you need to do to vent your anger, I deserve it. My mother's voice was cold. That's a strange thing to say, Arthur. How you raise your daughter is your business. What does it have to do with us? An apology seems a bit dramatic. As she spoke, she fixed her eyes on me. The message was clear. If I showed even an ounce of weakness, she'd probably break my legs. I remained silent. After all, I had once declared I would marry Lauren or no one. Arthur forced a smile and shifted his body. Lauren is just being a child. She went out for a couple of days, that's all. She's back home now. He lowered his voice. It's all just vicious gossip. You know Lauren, Ethan. You grew up with her. You should know. Actually, I ran into Miss Taylor and her new husband at the Georgetown market yesterday. I interrupted, my tone perfectly placid. They make a lovely couple. Are you here to drop off a wedding invitation? My calm congratulations brought a flicker of a smile to my mother's eyes. She leaned forward, her own smile turning sharp. Oh, is that so? I watched that girl grow up. Now that she's found happiness, I suppose I should prepare a generous wedding gift for her. Arthur looked frantic, clearly unaware of what had happened at the market. What new husband? That country bumpkin? It doesn't count. He was just giving her a ride. His face turned beet red as he tried to backpedal, but I was done listening. It's getting late. We won't keep you for lunch, Mr. Taylor. At my glance, two of our household staff immediately stepped forward and flanked Arthur, gesturing towards the door. Arthur's face was a mask of disbelief. He never expected me to be so blunt. Before, out of respect for Lauren, I'd treated him like a second father. He, in turn, had played the part of the magnanimous father-in-law to the hilt. He probably thought he could show up today with a half-hearted apology, and I'd sit down and have a drink with him. He never imagined I wouldn't give him the time of day. He swallowed his pride, managing a weak smile, but couldn't find any words. He just turned and left. Once it was just my mother and me, her expression hardened. That family is not a good match for you, Ethan. Your ability to be this decisive shows your time on deployment wasn't wasted. I knelt before her. Mom, I want to request a permanent assignment from the Joint Chiefs. I want to go back to Firebase Khost. Khost, a volatile province on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, was in constant turmoil. 3 years ago, Senator Hayes' son, Preston, had gotten drunk and cornered Lauren at a party. I broke his leg. When the senator demanded justice, Lauren had huddled in my arms, crying like a frightened rabbit. Ethan, my father is terrified of the Hayes family's power. If they push him, he'll just marry me off to Preston to make it all go away. The scent of her perfume clouded my judgment. In that moment, if she had asked me to climb a mountain of knives, I would have just stared into her eyes and agreed. Lauren blushed, her gaze soft as water. I don't want anything to do with that arrogant, entitled creep. There's only one person I see, one person I trust. My brave major, who's always there for me. A seed planted in my heart years ago erupted into a mighty oak, its only purpose to shelter this precious girl. A young woman's reputation was paramount. I couldn't let her name be dragged through the mud with a degenerate like Preston. I took the fall, claiming I was drunk and had started a fight. I was demoted and sent to a remote outpost in Afghanistan as a low-ranking officer with no real authority, basically a glorified gate guard for 3 years. Thankfully, Senator Hayes wanted me dead, so he had me stationed in the most unstable region possible. It backfired, giving me the perfect stage to prove myself. Had I stayed in D.C., I might have wasted my entire life. My mother was silent for a long moment, then nodded. A man should have ambition. He should want to make his mark on the world. A bitter feeling rose in my chest. My mother was always like this, tough on the outside, but she'd support any decision I made. In my past life, I got entangled in D.C. as political games because of the Taylors. My parents, both from military backgrounds, had always stayed out of politics. But because of me, they were dragged into the swamp. I was stuck in D.C., my command authority restricted. While my aging father was sent to command the very base in Khost I'd been exiled to, Lauren, bitter and resentful, made enemies everywhere. The poisoned artisanal tea that killed my mother was given to her by someone else to deliver. She even conspired with Congressman Davenport, a political rival, intercepting intelligence from the front lines and concealing reports of an enemy offensive. Reinforcements and supplies never arrived. My father died fighting in cost. In my last life, I took away the happiness Lauren wanted, and I paid for it with the destruction of my family. This time, I wouldn't interfere with her happiness. I didn't understand it, I didn't respect it, and I certainly didn't bless it. She could have it. The battlefield was my destiny. I formally requested command of the forces in the western sector of Afghanistan. The president was delighted. He granted my request, but on one condition: my father would be recalled to D.C. for 2 months, allowing our family a brief reunion before I deployed. I didn't know how many years I'd be gone, so I wanted to use that time to be a good son. Cartier on Fifth Avenue was the city's premier jeweler. The prices were astronomical, but the craftsmanship was exquisite and the materials were top-notch, making it the go-to for the D.C. elite. I wanted to design a custom set of jewelry for my mother's birthday. The moment I stepped inside, I heard a commotion. "Every one of those pieces is mine. Why can't I have them? Is this how Cartier does business now, bullying your own customers?" The voice was all too familiar. I looked up, and sure enough, it was Lauren. She was wearing the same cheap, rough-spun dress I'd seen her in at the market. She was at the main counter, her face flushed with anger, arguing with the store manager. Her new husband, Leo, stood off to the side, his eyes darting around the opulent showroom, clearly in awe of a world he'd never seen before. I turned to leave, but the manager spotted me first. Major Cole. He sounded like he'd been thrown a lifeline. He rushed past Lauren and stopped me at the door. Lauren was caught off guard. Our eyes met, and her flushed face flooded with a new wave of humiliation and resentment. "Major, it's about the collection you have on reserve with U.S., the manager explained. "Miss Taylor wants to take possession of it. In previous years, you always sent a courier, but without your direct authorization this year, I couldn't release it. Back when I was in love with her, I wanted to give her the best of everything. Even while I was deployed in cost, every year I'd wire a significant portion of my salary to my account at Cartier, with instructions to craft a unique piece for her from their latest collections. On her birthday, someone from my family staff would pick it up and deliver it to the Taylor residence. This year, on her birthday, the memory of my past life had returned. Naturally, I didn't send for the gift. I never thought she'd come looking for it herself. Ethan, Cole, since you had those pieces made for me, I have every right to collect them now. You can't say anything about it." Lauren looked like she was daring me to challenge her, her chin up, her neck stiff. She completely ignored the shocked and amused stares from the other patrons, many of whom she had once considered her peers. In just a few days, the elegant and poised daughter of Arthur Taylor had become this coarse, belligerent woman. No wonder people were staring. But I wasn't surprised at all. Her backstabbing and irrationality in our past life had already extinguished every last ember of affection or patience I had for her. "Please have the entire collection delivered to my family's residence," I told the manager. I didn't even look at Lauren. My dismissal ignited her rage. "Ethan Cole, I'm talking to you." She rushed towards me, reaching out to grab my sleeve. It was her old trick, the one she used to get her way. A little tug on my sleeve, a few sweet utterings of my name, and I would have given her my life. But now I dodged her faster than I'd ever dodged an incoming round. Lauren stumbled, nearly falling to the floor. My face was a blank mask. "Ma'am, if you have something to say, please say it. But don't be grabbing at another man in public, especially not in front of your husband." The snickering in the store grew louder. Leo stood frozen, too nervous to move an inch. Lauren looked stunned, as if she didn't recognize me. "Do you have to humiliate me like this?" Tears welled in her eyes, her sorrowful expression making it seem as if I were the one who had run out on our engagement. "I know you hate me, that you resent me," she whispered, "but matters of the heart are complicated. I have always, truly, thought of you as a brother. I hope you can find it in your heart to wish me well, as a sister." The number of shoppers in the store suddenly doubled. Everyone was pretending to browse, but their ears were tuned to our drama. I drew a clear line in the sand. "I don't know you." Lauren lifted her chin, a flicker of contempt in her eyes. She went to Leo's side and took his arm, huffing. "It doesn't matter what you pretend now. Leo is a brilliant man, a true artist. He might not have the Cole family fortune, but I would rather be with him, even if it means living on nothing. Who's stopping you? If you love living on nothing so much, why are you here trying to claim the jewelry I paid for? I was completely baffled by her logic. Lauren's face contorted with anger. It's your fault. My father went to your house the other day and was humiliated. That's why he's making things so difficult for Leo's proposal. Just then, Jack pushed through the crowd. Whoa, he said, feigning surprise. Lauren, you don't mean that basket of weeds you were carrying at the Georgetown market was your dowry, do you? Someone in the crowd snorted, and then the dam broke. The store filled with stifled laughter. Those were artisanal, wild forage greens that Leo and I gathered ourselves. Lauren practically screamed. That gesture is worth more than money can buy. She held her head high, as if mocking everyone else for their pathetic materialism. Jack shot back. Too bad that priceless gesture didn't impress your father. Leo, mortified, pulled on Lauren's arm. It's fine, he muttered. There's no need to argue with irrelevant people. I'll work hard and earn your father's respect. Lauren looked at him, her eyes shining with adoration. Leo, you're always so magnanimous. You face every obstacle with such grace and determination. She shot a disdainful look in my direction. Some people only know how to handle guns and give orders. They could never compare to your talent and vision. I said nothing. The rest of the store was silent, too. It wasn't ridicule anymore. It was genuine concern. People were wondering if Lauren had lost her mind. You can keep your filthy money, she declared, pulling Leo toward the exit. The scent of a true artist is something you'll never have the privilege of knowing. Her exit was full of defiant, righteous resolve. Jack looked bewildered. Ethan, didn't you graduate summa cum laude from Yale when you were, 19? And wasn't this Leo guy a college dropout? The onlookers suddenly remembered. The young major in front of them wasn't just some military brute. He was a certified genius. It was true. I'd graduated with highest honors at 19. The Cole men had been soldiers for generations, their legacy built on the blood and sacrifice of countless ancestors. My parents, having lost so many family members to war, wanted a different path for me, their only surviving son. They pushed me toward academia. If I hadn't beaten up Preston Hayes and been manipulated by his father, I probably never would have become Major Cole. Jack clapped me on the shoulder. Someone upstairs is looking out for you, man. Dodge a real bullet there. Marrying a woman with a brain like that, she'd bring ruin to 3 generations. I couldn't agree more. No one knew better than me what kind of disaster Lauren was capable of. I just hoped I'd never have to deal with her again. Over the next few weeks, even though I wasn't actively seeking out news about Lauren, it was impossible to avoid. A spectacle like her doesn't come around often. She was a permanent fixture in the D.C. gossip mill. Besides, I had Jack, a one-man TMZ. He gave me a theatrical, play-by-play account of how Arthur Taylor had thrown both Lauren and Leo and their basket of weeds out of the house, and how Lauren had created a scene on the front lawn, weeping and begging for her father's blessing. It was better than a soap opera. My mother's birthday was supposed to be a small family affair, but with my recent commendations and rising profile at the Pentagon, our house was flooded with well-wishers. The party quickly became a major social event. You see all these people? Jack whispered, nudging me. Most of them have daughters. The golden boy of the military is the biggest catch in town, and they all want to reel you in. I chuckled. Marriage is a serious thing. I'll leave it to my mother to decide. I trust her judgment. Jack nodded sagely. Your mother has impeccable taste. She'll definitely find you a wife who is both kind and intelligent. I didn't answer. Honestly, I had no expectations for a wife anymore. I didn't need her to be exceptional. I just needed her to be sane. A peaceful marriage, a quiet home. That was enough. As I was about to see the last guests out, a wave of heat rushed to my head. The room started spinning, and I nearly lost my footing. As the host, I'd had a few drinks, but my tolerance had been forged in the field. There was no way I was this drunk. Someone had put something in my drink. A maid quickly steadied me, whispering, "Sir, let me help you to your room to rest." The voice was so familiar. Even in my drug haze, a jolt of clarity shot through me. Lauren. I tried to grab her chin to see her face clearly. She dodged, her voice even lower. Let me help you lie down. I started to fight back immediately. The moment I pushed her away, she clung to me again. She even signaled another maid, who took my other arm, and together they started leading me somewhere. My eyelids felt like they were weighted with lead. A furious, helpless anger began to boil inside me. What was this venomous woman planning now? The combined rage from 2 lifetimes gave me a surge of strength. I fumbled for the tactical knife I always carried, managed to flip it open, and swung it wildly to my side. A sharp scream cut through the fog in my head. I dragged the blade across my own forearm. The searing pain shocked my senses back into focus. Lauren, dressed as a maid, was crumpled on the grass, her eyes wide with terror. You would rather hurt yourself than. My face was cold stone. This time, I would never let her drag me down into the mud with her. Luckily, she had led me out of the main hall and into a secluded corner of the garden. Hearing the commotion, household staff came running. I ordered them to restrain the other maid, then to discreetly escort the remaining guests out and secure the area. This was a family matter. It couldn't get out. Sir, I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. Please, give me another chance, the young maid sobbed. I used to work for Miss Taylor, and she was kind to me. She came to me and asked for a small favor. I thought she truly regretted her actions, and, knowing your history together, I just wanted to help her. This family has no place for someone with your poor judgment. Sell her contract. The house manager immediately had the girl taken away. Lauren was still on the ground, seemingly in shock. Get out the same way you got in. If you're not gone in 15 minutes, I'll have you thrown out. I didn't spare her another glance. I needed to get my arm bandaged. Ethan, don't go. Lauren scrambled to her feet and grabbed onto my leg. She looked up, her small face streaked with tears, the picture of pitiable desperation. My father. He's been framed. He's in federal custody. You're the only one who can help me. Please, she whispered, her fingers gently, expertly massaging my calf. Please help me, just one more time. She looked exhausted, her face paler than I remembered, but she was still exquisitely beautiful. Her cheeks were flushed, and combined with her tear-filled eyes, she looked fragile enough to make any man's heart ache. I kicked my leg free. I gestured to 2 of my staff, who moved to pull her off me. That's not my problem. I knew exactly what her father had done. He was a political gambler who had backed the wrong horse. He deserved what was coming to him. Ethan Cole, how can you be so cruel? How can you just stand by and do nothing? Lauren shrieked. When she realized she couldn't stop me, she played her final card, her voice breaking into a sob. You want me, don't you? Is that it? If you save my family, I'll marry you. I'll be yours. I stopped and turned back to look at her. Just as I expected, her tears flowed even more freely now, a portrait of tragic heartbreak. The perfect image of a woman being bullied, insulted, and forced to separate from her true love. I laughed. I looked down at her. Weren't you and Leo married? How exactly do you plan on marrying me? Lauren took a deep breath, fat tears rolling down her cheeks. He already divorced me. I'm free to marry you now. He divorced you the second your family's fortune crumbled. I asked with a smirk. No, she screamed, a pained, suffocating sound. He knew he couldn't help me. He knew you were the only one who could save my family, so he made the choice to let me go. She glared at me with a look of pure hatred and sorrow. So now you can have what you always wanted. You can possess me. Are you satisfied? As long as you get my father out of prison, you can do whatever you want of me. I had only wanted to close the book on our past life, to go our separate ways. I never thought I would see that look in her eyes again. It instantly dragged me back into the shadow of my family's destruction. I'm not a saint. A small smile played on my lips as I shook my head. It's not about what I want. The question is, are you sure you're willing to do anything to save your father? Lauren shot me a scornful look. He's my father. Of course I am. She knew me so well, or at least she thought she did. She knew how to bargain, how to manipulate me. Having received her answer, I turned to my house manager. Have Miss Taylor escorted to Senator Hayes's residence. What? Lauren gasped. Preston Hayes has always had strong feelings for you, I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. And his father, the senator, has oversight on the committee handling this investigation. You said you'd do anything for your father. I'm helping you one last time by sending you to him. Lauren began to struggle, her face a mask of panic and horror, but my staff held her firm and began dragging her away. "Ethan Cole, you're a monster. You're actually sending me to another man." "No, let go of me. I don't want to go to the Hayes' house." On the day I left for my deployment, I saw Arthur Taylor one last time. He waited until everyone who had come to see me off had left before daring to approach. He had been stripped of his wealth and connections. His assets were seized. He'd clearly had a rough time in custody. He walked with a severe limp, his left foot dragging on the ground. Dressed in cheap clothes, his face aged by decades, he looked pathetic and broken. "Ethan," he began, his voice raspy. "What happened before? That was our fault. We wronged you, but our family has paid the price. We've lost everything. I'm just asking you, for the sake of our old friendship, to help me one last time. I will be eternally grateful." Hearing him say this, I felt nothing but cold irony. In my first life, I had pulled every string I had, called in every favor to ensure his safety while he was under investigation. Though his reputation was tarnished, I made sure he kept a quiet, comfortable government pension. I even used my own money to supplement his seized assets, ensuring he could live out his days in comfort. And he never showed an ounce of gratitude. He took it all for granted. He and Lauren even secretly allied themselves with Congressman Davenport, hoping to use our family as a stepping stone to regain their former glory. In that life, he lived to a comfortable old age. My parents died horribly. My eyes turned to ice. I cracked my riding crop across his back, sending him sprawling to the ground. "Who the hell do you think you are, trying to claim a connection to me?" Arthur cried out in pain. When he looked up at me again, his eyes were finally filled with fear. But he was still desperate. "Preston Hayes took Lauren as his mistress. He's never forgiven her for what you did to his leg. He tortures her, Ethan, every single day. If you don't get her out of there, he's going to kill her." I sneered. "So you admit you knew I took the fall for Lauren with the Hayes family all those years ago?" Arthur stammered, looking away. "Senator Hayes. His power. I didn't dare cross him. Lauren chose to go to Preston to save you. That was her decision." I loomed over him, pointing at him with my crop. "From now on, if anyone from your family sees me, you walk the other way. Otherwise, I will show you what it truly means to cross someone you can't afford to." At that moment, Arthur Taylor finally seemed to grasp the aura of command and violence that clung to me. He finally realized that my rank wasn't a political appointment. It was earned in mountains of corpses and rivers of blood. He trembled, bowing his head. I won't," he muttered. With bullies and cowards like him, a show of force is the only language they understand. I turned my horse toward my future and galloped toward my war. This life I would soar. In strategy and tactics, I was second to none. With the memories of my past life as my guide, pacifying the western provinces was almost child's play. I orchestrated a trap, feeding false intelligence to make the enemy believe that Congressman Davenport's overtures of alliance were a ploy to use them for his own political gain. I had spent a lifetime fighting Davenport's network. I knew all his assets and weak points. This time, I quietly compiled evidence of his treason and delivered it all directly to the vice president. In my last life, I had backed the VP, helping him navigate the treacherous political landscape. At the time, he was out of favor with the president, and other factions were circling like sharks. The pundits all said his career was over. But I knew the depth of his cunning and the strength of his resolve. My choice proved to be the right one. He was a brilliant and honorable leader. Congressman Davenport was indicted and his political career ended in disgrace. His most powerful ally, Senator Hayes, fell with him. Old corruption charges against the senator were brought to light, and he was sentenced to federal prison. Preston and his cronies were ruined, their assets forfeited. When I returned from my tour, I was met with a hero's welcome. The entire city celebrated. The vice president himself met me 20 miles outside of D.C. I was the man of the hour, the subject of every flattering headline. My mother introduced me to a young woman, Clara, the granddaughter of a renowned professor at Georgetown. She was brilliant, witty, and radiated a cheerful confidence. Her family had faced hardship in the past, which gave her a resilience you didn't often see in women from her background. My mother adored her. After we were married, I expected a life of pleasant, respectful companionship. But Clara was a wonderful surprise. Beyond her love of literature and art, she was a phenomenal equestrian. On my days off, We would often go riding in the countryside, racing each other and talking for hours about everything and nothing. One afternoon, we were sitting in a field on the edge of a small farming village, watching the breeze push clouds across the sky. I picked a wildflower and tucked it behind her ear. Seeing the blush on her cheeks, I leaned in and kissed her. "Leo, how could you do this to me?" A blood-curdling scream shattered the peaceful moment. Clara jumped, pushing me away gently as she stood up, her face bright red. I smiled and took her hand, ready to head home. She gave me a playful nudge, then gestured with her chin. "That woman over there. She sounds so distraught. Do you think her husband is hurting her?" I looked over and saw them. It was Lauren and Leo. A few years ago, Leo had been thin, with a look of sensitive artist. Now he was bloated and greasy. Lauren, on the other hand, looked like she was 60 years old. If not for that desperate, piercing shriek, I wouldn't have recognized either of them. "My family will not have a used-up, washed-out woman like you. Get the hell out of here and don't come back," Leo shouted, waving her away like a fly. Lauren's voice was raw with tears. "You were the one who told me to put my family first. You said you were making a noble sacrifice by letting me go to save my father. And when the Hayes family fell and I was finally free, the first thing I did was come find you. I knew I wasn't clean anymore. I never asked to be your wife again. I just wanted to be with you, to take care of you and your family. I sold my body to make money for you, to buy you this farm. How can you throw me out now?" She was sobbing so hard she could barely speak, snot and tears covering her face. Leo looked around nervously, terrified someone might see them. Luckily, we were hidden by a thicket of trees. He pointed a fat finger at her. "You were the one who was stupid enough to do that. Don't you dare blame me. Is selling yourself something to be proud of? I only married you in the first place because I thought your family's connections could help my career. Who knew you people were so useless?" Clara's hand tightened in mine. She knew the history. "You had a perfect life, and you threw it all away because you had some idiotic fantasy about being a farmer's wife. If I wanted to be stuck in the middle of nowhere forever, I could have married anyone. Now you're just a sick, broken-down wreck with nothing left to offer. Get lost. If you ever come near me again, I'll beat you to death." Now I understood the source of Leo's new physique. Lauren had paid for it. I squeezed Clara's hand and led her quietly away. I leaned over and kissed her cheek. "Mom and Dad are waiting for us for dinner." She bit her lip and nodded, then turned and kissed me back. "Let's go home." Clara has a kind heart. Not knowing the full story of our past life, she only saw a woman whose life had been one tragic turn after another. She wanted me to send someone back with some money, just enough to ensure Lauren wouldn't starve to death on the street. But before we could, we got a call from the local sheriff's department. Lauren had set a fire. She burned down the farmhouse, killing Leo's entire family, and herself along with them. Everything turned to ash. Later, we heard that Arthur Taylor showed up to claim the remains, his real motive being to seize the deed to the farm. He didn't get the land. He was found dead in one of the fields a few days later. The sheriff quickly arrested the killer, Leo's cousin, who had murdered Arthur because he wanted the farm, the same farm Lauren had paid for with her body, all for himself. This time, Lauren's story didn't appear in any articles. In the eyes of the world, the story of the socialite who ran away with the poor artist was supposed to end with them living a simple, noble life in the country. If you wrote about what really happened, you wouldn't be able to sell the fantasy anymore.